I read a thing the other day. It's like so tinfoil hat, but I can't like stop thinking about it. I read a thing like, do you remember in like, was it 2012? The world was supposed to end. It was like the Mayan calendar had run out.
Yeah, aye.
People were like, what happens if we've just flipped into an alternate universe and all this mad shit's been happening since 2012? And I was like, do you know what? It's as good a theory as anything else.
Yeah. At the moment, it kind of works. Yeah, because there was that film 2012. Remember the John Cusack one? It was a disaster film where the world was ending. Yeah. I think after watching it, a lot of people hoped the world would end because it was a terrible film.
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Snakes. Why do we have to need snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman. I am the Father.
I know we'll get on to talking about what we watched, but went to see Keeper on Friday. 10 out of 10 for the recliner seats and Silverburn. By the way, that was a lovely experience. But the Final Girls group was there as well. So we were in different rows because Chris and I booked our tickets ages ago. But it really divided the group afterwards. Like, so there's definitely people who were like, that was a waste of my time. And other people who were like, no, that was great. I really enjoyed it. And here's the reasons why. So I think that'll make a really good podcast as well.
I am going to try and see it today after. I'm just going to go today. I thought, I've got like a press day tomorrow, and I thought I could go after that, and see it everywhere apart from Cineworld and Falkirk. Have got one showing of the film, like, and it's like in 8:30. And for a film that's just out this week, I was thinking, there'll be a good few.
Yeah,
put the microphone. There'll be a good few. No, most places it's one screening a day. I don't know.
Is it because
Running Man? No, Wicked's next week, but the Running Man's out this week, and there's another one, the Nuremberg film as well, is out this week. So,
so we're going to see the Running Man this afternoon. But I watched a clip of Nuremberg. Russell Crowe's accent.
Yeah, that is choice, shall we say?
Do you know what though? I'm going to have a good time with this because, like, I saw someone describe it once as chairman, as in like CHERMAN, and that's definitely the accent that he's doing. He's in the clip. He's with Rami Malek, and he's like, "I am going to show you the magic trick," and it's like, what the fuck is that? I love it. I'm going to enjoy it.
Been watching army videos, I think, to get the sort of the language right, isn't he?
I'm going to have a good time with it anyway. But we are going to see Running Man, so that'll be good. I think it's not getting the best of reviews, but if I go anyway.
No. So, Mary, what have you been watching over this last dreary, wet week that we've had?
So I feel like my watch list is quite short this week because I have been on a couple of extra pods, but I will plough through what I've been viewing anyway. For my sins, I finished Married at First Sight UK. I'm sorry to everyone who has good taste. I have watched this series. It's COVID's fault, right? Because during COVID, we all had nothing to watch, and Married at First Sight Australia came on like Channel 4 or E4, and it just got me hooked on the whole premise. So now every time a series appears, I have to watch it. It's just the rules. I don't make them. So I finished that, which was, just the usual waste of my time. I feel like I've watched quite a lot of documentaries this week because we were talking about them on our last pod. So the first one I watched was called Married to the Cult, about the Moonies. And I didn't really realise that this was a sort of like completely insidious organisation. Like, obviously it is a cult, but I think the thing that most people know about them is like the big marriages, the sort of mass marriages. But what I didn't realise was that you hadn't met the person you were getting married to on that day. You just get paired up by the leader and his wife, and they obviously performed these ceremonies. And as you can expect, there was tales of abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, including, some mother-son incest, which was just horrific. The guy was absolutely broken describing it. A lot of mixed up families, people off making children with other people. The weird thing was, like, on your wedding night, you had to have a picture of Sun Myung Moon next to your bed while you were procreating to remind you that this is what you were doing it for, sort of thing. It was just absolutely horrific. And a lot of the people who ended up escaping it were essentially the reason they escaped was they were either kidnapped by their parents who were worried about them and came and got them, or there was parents who actually took the religion to court in order to sue to get their children back. So it was quite an interesting sort of like, and obviously at the time, the children were refuting the fact that they were in a cult. They genuinely believed they were doing good. And so to actually get brought back into society and having to sort of like deprogram yourself, like the people who were interviewed were maybe like in their 50s or 60s, and they were still talking about ways in which they were deprogramming themselves. So it just shows you how, even if you've only been in something for like a number of years, the impact sort of runs deep all the way through your adult life. So that was a good watch. That was on Amazon Prime. And then I watched The Alabama Solution, which is on Sky Documentaries, which is about the prison system in Alabama and basically how horrendous it is. Like, it sort of opens with cell phone footage of like there's rats in the prison, the floor is flooded, sometimes with water, sometimes with sewage. There's obviously beatings, bribery. It was showing you like loads of prisoners who were on, I think in the UK it's called Spice. It kind of turns you into like a zombie and you're left sort of almost like a statue standing in one position for hours on end. And they showed you there was like a community barbecue where they invited all these dignitaries along to show them like, oh, look, the prisoners are all jolly. Look, we're all having a barbecue. But then one prisoner said like, yeah, the visiting people got the actual meat and then we got basically the rest of the shit. And it was showing you basically how institutionalized the violence was, because the higher up the hierarchy you went in terms of being like a governor or a lieutenant or a warden within the system, like there was outright murders happening, and all the other prisoners round about, if they witnessed the murder, knew they were going to die as well, because obviously the legal system closed ranks on the people who had been like the wardens, etc., who'd been doing the beatings. And it showed you interviews with the wardens. There was one guy, I think he'd been cautioned 7 times for excessive force, and he'd finally killed a guy, and his parents were trying to like sue the Department of Justice, and he was like, never seen the guy, don't know him, but you know, he's in prison, so can his version of events be trusted? And people were put in like solitary confinement for like years on end simply for just existing or pointing out the truth, and they took away all their educational tools, and it was absolutely horrific. And it showed you how, you know, young black men, you know, committing a burglary for the first time were getting like 20 years in prison, whereas young white men committing the same crime were not getting the same sentence. And obviously once you're in the system, it's really hard to get back out of it. So it was a really fascinating watch, highly recommend, but obviously not for the sensitive. I also watched Folk Tales, which was a review that I did for Nordic Watchlist, which was a beautiful documentary about I don't know what you would call it, like a rehabilitation school, perhaps, in the far north of Scandinavia that takes in these young teenagers who are maybe struggling with like, you know, anxiety or loneliness or, you know, that sort of thing, or like parents have been ill, and they take them into this school, and they sort of, it's not a traditional school in the sense that, you know, they do like a lot of arts and crafts, a lot of outdoor stuff, you know, sort of a lot of therapy, and it really just sort of brings them back into themselves as well, like taking them out of the traditional schooling system, you know, I'm going to say cutting them off from the world, but do you know what I mean? Like there's no internet, so there's no social media making you feel bad about yourself, etc. And they sort of take in these teenagers and kind of turn their lives around, like help support them with their mental health, show them how to sort of make friends and form relationships and all that sort of thing. It was really, really lovely. And again, you know, obviously we're chatting about, you know, funding being cut for like these projects and things like that in the UK. Like it was quite remarkable to see how many teenagers had come through this system and sort of the lasting impact that had on them, and, you know, how they were able to sort of go back into their lives and, you know, be sort of more kind of well-rounded people. So that was lovely to watch. Actually, it was really, really nice. I also watched Hypernormalization on your recommendation, which I won't go into because you obviously discussed it last week. But again, that was one of those moments where the longer you watch that, there's only so many times you can just go, what the fuck is happening? You know, like there's only, you know, your exasperation becomes moot after a point. But that was a fantastic watch, so thank you very much for recommending that. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, does your tin hat fit quite nicely? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I went into the tinfoil drawer straight away and fashioned it, a little beret on the side. Actually, my colleague Scott had watched it as well, so we had a good natter about that. in work, and just the whole idea of inventing suicide bombers. Like the two of us were just stood for probably longer than we should have been talking about that, but it was so fascinating. I also watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I taped that off Film 4 because they had a Tom Hanks season, I think it was, last month, and I'd never seen this and I really wanted to. It was absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's based on an article that one of the writers for Esquire had written. It was like, the premise was like American heroes, and he was tasked with interviewing Mr. Rogers, but he was known as a sort of like hard-hitting, pull no punches kind of interviewer. So he was like, why the hell have I been given this assignment? Like, the guy's like a children's TV presenter. And at first I kind of worried that it was going to be like a wee bit schmaltzy, a wee bit too twee, but actually, like, by all accounts, Mr. Rogers genuinely was this really nice, positive person all the time. Like, it wasn't an act. And that's one of the interview questions, he gives him. He's like, right, so who are you really? Because that's obviously Mr. Rogers, the TV person. So who are you in real life? And he's like, this is me. And his wife at one point says, like, I don't like it when he's called a living saint because it doesn't give him anything to aim for. Like, he had to work hard at being this positive all the time. But it was such a sweet story, and it makes sense that Tom Hanks, who is like America's grandpa, plays this character who is also seen as that kind of figure, and just like the lives that he changed. Like, they showed you he was doing like a Make-A-Wish meet, and that had delayed filming by like 45 minutes of his television show. So production and all that are raging, and they're running around trying to re-scramble and make sure that things are going to get shot properly. But he just wanted to take his time with this child, and it just he obviously was such a lovely man, and that story was really lovely to watch as well. So that was just a really nice balance from all the dreariness that I've been watching previously. Went to the cinema to see Keeper, but I'll not chat about that because I know we're going to pod about it. And then last night I watched Sorry Baby, which I was desperate to see in the cinema, but it disappeared after like 2 days. Watched it last night. Oh, that was brilliant. It was like worst person in the world levels of cutting you to the core as to figuring out your life in your 30s after like a traumatic event. And Eva Victor, who writes, directs and stars in it, gives this absolutely incredible performance. It's told in kind of chapters. They're not linear, but it was just such an incredible story with amazing performances. And I did get a wee bit teary because she finds a cat in the street, a wee baby kitty. And it's like, cat owners always joke about the cat selection system, like the cat chooses you don't choose the cat.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And the cat comes up to her in the street, and she's going through this really traumatic event, and she just picks the cat up and she sighs and she's like, okay, I love you too. And just takes the cat with her for the rest of her life. And it's just, it's absolutely brilliant. It's on Mubi, so definitely worth seeking out. It's such a really brilliant performances. Naomi Aki's in it as well. She plays Lindy, like her best friend. Just a really, really good story. And I think that the more I see like women filmmakers telling these stories of what it's like to be in your 20s and 30s and figuring yourself out, it just really obviously sort of strikes a chord. So that was definitely like a brilliant watch. It could be top 10 of the year material because it was released in the UK this year, so worth seeking out for sure.
Brilliant. Oh, it's really good. Nice wee list there.
Yeah, just some light trauma,
Yes. For myself, I have seen The Running Man and The Running Man. I saw The Running Man on Monday at press screening, the new version of it. I won't go into too much detail. There's a wee game you can play because a lot of it was filmed in Glasgow. So
of course,
you can look and try and figure out what's actually been filmed there as well. And afterwards go on to, I think it's Instagram, it might be the official Running Man account on Instagram. Somebody went along and took photos of the actual film, and then it's in the background is like the Anderson Shopping Centre and things like that. So
it's the guy Thomas Duke stepping through film. So he always goes to like actual practical locations and takes pictures, and his interviews are brilliant because he always talks, he'll show people the photographs if he was there. So I saw that this week, actually. It does make me excited. I know it's not getting the best of the views, but I think, it's that sort of Ouija pride, isn't it? You're like, that's, that's the back of the Savoy Centre or whatever it is.
I did enjoy the film. I liked
Okay.
it. It's not the best film. It's not going to be a top 10 or anything for me, but I did enjoy the film. I liked the fact that it was closer to the story than the Arnie version. But I had to go and remind myself of the Arnie version as well, which is on Netflix at the moment. And I watched that, and it is wildly different. Just the whole premise of it is completely different as well, and it's more tongue in cheek, and I don't think it was intentionally like that, because the director of the film was replaced quite late on, and Paul Michael Glaser, Starsky from Starsky and Hutch, came in and directed it, and he was known for doing sort of TV stuff. He'd been directing some TV stuff, and Arnie just didn't like the final cut of it at all. He says it's too much like a sort of TV drama of the time, like in the mid-80s, rather than sort of a hard-hitting science fiction film. And you can kind of see that, but there's more problems with that film than just the fact that the director came in late, because obviously there's the whole scripting thing, and the effects don't really hold up very well. And considering this is like after the likes of Alien, Aliens and Blade Runner and things like that, it was kind of done a little more on the cheap. It is more of your sort of your mid-80s cheaper end of the sci-fi spectrum, which is still, I mean, it's still a reasonably good film. But like Arnie's, he's got an M14, the assault rifle, and he's holding it as if it's a pistol. He's shooting people. This kind of thing, you know, he doesn't even need a second hand to steady the gun, you know, this kind of thing. So yeah, it's a bit dodgy. But Jesse Ventura's in it for a wee while as well. He's a famous wrestler from the 80s, so that kind of tied in with obviously what we're going to talk about later. And he was in Predator as well, so he's quite good. He's good fun as an actor as well. I also watched Maestro, the Leonard Bernstein biopic, because I was considering that for a top 3, because I thought, that may be a good one to do. But I watched that last night, and it's a complete sort of transformation piece for Bradley Cooper, because you know, he really sort of like dives into the role, and there's a lot of prosthetics. It's the same guy that did the prosthetics on The Smashing Machine as well, so there was a wee link in there. Some Oscar-winning makeup artist that did that. So I thought, that'll be quite good. So I watched that as well. It's a pretty good film, you know, and he's a bit of an outrageous character anyway, Leonard Bernstein. So there was a lot of scope for like flamboyance, and obviously it's all musical and everything. So it worked really well. Carey Mulligan is his wife in it as well, and she is excellent in it as well. I mean, she's excellent in most things. And they use that trick of sort of the present day stuff, which is actually maybe the late 70s, early 80s, is in colour, but everything else is in black and white. So it's gorgeous looking, you know, it's really good.
Wow.
So yeah, it was definitely worth a watch, but it didn't make the top 3. So but you know, and again, you know, that's fair enough. That's pretty much it in terms of films, because it's been busy otherwise, because on Thursday night I was at a concert. I went to see Heaven 17, who played at the Barrowlands. It's the first time I've ever played the Barrowlands, and they're a band that have been about for 45 years. And I really liked them when they came out, sort of the early 80s. They came out with the two of them were in the Human League, and the Human League split up into two. Into Human League and Heaven 17. So I like both of those bands. But Heaven 17 never played live for the first 17 years, I think, of their existence. They just didn't do it. And then they've started doing it, and they've just been sort of constantly touring ever since. It's just 2 of them now rather than the 3. It was a fantastic gig. The guy, Glenn Gregory, the singer, has got a brilliant voice, and he's still got a brilliant voice, so he can still sort of hit all the sort of the high notes, and he's got really good range and everything. And it was a really good show. And the Barland was mobbed as well. It was jumping. Good. It was really, really good. It didn't matter the fact that when we got there, it was pissing with rain everywhere. But, you know, you get inside, and there was this sort of nice atmosphere. And then when they come on, it was just mental, the sort of reception they got. And the band couldn't believe it either. They were kind of like, fuck's sake, man, I wish I could be like this. This was really good. So yeah, that was good. Wow. That was nice. And as a sort of counterpoint to that, I was at the concert hall last night for soundtrack influenced set. It was also Sprach Zarathustra, and there was Barbara's Adagio for strings. There was a concerto. It was James Newton Howard, the composer, had written this new concerto, and it's kind of, you can tell, sort of film influence and stuff like that. And there was another piece from a game called Plants vs. Zombies. It was an orchestral piece from that, which was, I know it was a bit bizarre, but more and more these games have like full orchestra soundtracks and stuff. You know, it's big business. You know, big business actually having like full concerts, and it's just all games music. That was excellent. That was really good fun. Everybody knows the first 2 minutes of also Sprach Zarathustra because it was in 2001. It was in the Barbie movie. Elvis used to come on stage to it when he played like Vegas. Yeah. There's just look it up. There's loads of footage of Elvis coming on stage to that, and he's doing all the movements. There's a bum 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 bum, and he's going and he's doing all the karate moves and everything. And it's because he played with a big band, and they had like horns and everything. They could get away with playing all that, and then they would just like break into the first song of the set, which was usually CC Rider. They do a wee bit of that actually in the Elvis film as well, because I watched a wee bit of that because I thought that could be my top 3. But I think you talked about that a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
I did, because we talked about films based on a true story. Yeah,
so I didn't want to repeat that as well. At some point, I'm going to have to actually go through the podcast
and make a list.
And lists what we've actually reviewed and what we've done our top 3s on, so we're not. So I'm not repeating myself more than anything else.
Listen, I'm the same.
A few times.
I'm the same, and every time I go on, so I was on the Well Good Movies podcast on Monday, and you play an end game, and whoever wins obviously gets to pick whatever film we're talking about next. But I always have to go on to, because they've got a list of all their films that they talked about, and I always have to go back on and check to make sure I'm not repeating myself for picks and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it would be, we should pull a list together. That would be a good idea. Yeah,
I'll get onto that. Get that. It'll be for the wiki page, because there's a lot of sites have that. They have the wiki page and it's discussed, and obviously it's like ones that have got like hundreds and hundreds of episodes and all that.
We have hundreds and hundreds of episodes. So.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yes, I know. Yes.
Just have a category World War II, and that'll just be all mine.
I have also started another book. It's called The White Album by Joan Didion. It's from 1979. It was one that Leslie she's got a sort of they call it the Cool Club. It's her and her friends, and they talk about books and music and stuff and that kind of thing. And that was one that came up maybe about a year ago. So she asked me to get a copy of that from, a Kindle copy, whatever. So I got that for her, and I decided to give it a go myself. It's basically a set of like essays and journalism and just like memoir writing, and it's been pulled together in this book format. It's all like previously published stuff, and it's all around about the late 60s, early 70s. It's in her time, like she was like interviewing like people from the Black Panther organization, and it's all the sort of the more sort of radical end, but it's also about her life and everything as well. And some of it is memoir and some of it's just stories and everything, and it's all kind of mixed in, and it's all just very short. You're like a couple of pages, and then you're on to something slightly different, and it works really well. I'm really quite into it. It's like a fantastic piece of writing. So, and as I say, it's been about for years and years, but I just didn't know anything about it at the time. I haven't even looked into what she's done. There's a reasonably well-known phrase from it. The opening sentence is, "We tell ourselves stories in order to live." So I thought it was quite nice. It's a nice wee thing to get. Yeah. So that is me. That's what I've been watching and doing. So obviously, yes. So obviously, the fact that I haven't watched as much was because I was going out and doing shit outside of the house. How
dare you have a life?
I know. For fuck's sake, man, I'll be back to normal this week. Don't worry about it.